Okay, so it's time to talk safe spaces and the utter bullshit that this epidemic is becoming and how problematic, fucking another word I hate, uh, this whole movement is. It really, really is a movement of segregation, a weapon against free speech, and the coddling of the youth of America. If you can't take someone else's viewpoint, you need to harden the fuck up. If you don't like what they're saying on social media, we all know how to block people. Don't act like you fucking don't. Especially you millennials that are really trying to utilize the safe spaces, especially on college campuses and bullshit like that. So we're going to go through a little video here, and we're going to share some video clips and thoughts on the whole problem that I have, or we should all have, with this. Because really, again, it's a war on free speech and an attempt to segregate minorities. Like, why would you want to segregate yourself? You need to confront these ideas. You need to have dialogue. If everybody locks themselves away in their own little corner and only hears what they want to hear and only what they feel safe, how are we supposed to develop as a culture? How are we ever supposed to sift through the bullshit of ideas to bring the good ideas to the top? Really. I mean, really. And especially in America, the minorities aren't such a minority anymore. If you guys would band together instead of segregating yourselves into these little fucking corners and crying to each other about this fucking bullshit, you could actually get something done together. We all could. We all learn a fucking lesson from Martin Luther King, who apparently people want to have his speech rectified, or the whole "I have a dream." Like, it's just fucking ridiculous. Right? Let's get into this Penn State bullshit. Okay, so I've slowed that little intro down a lot, and I just want you to take note of all the coalitions and student groups that are a part of these safe spaces, and how inclusive yet uninclusive they are.
We love Penn. The faculty and administration inspire us.
Our campus is beautiful and our student body is the best.
But sometimes we all face challenges or situations and need support. We are fortunate that Penn has many places where we can go to talk and get help with whatever is on our minds.
You've probably heard of CAPS and the Student Health Service, which have kind and trained staffs. In this video, we introduce you to 6 additional positive places at Penn, our cultural resource centers.
The Penn Women's Center, GIC, LGBT Center, La Casa Latina, Maku, and Patch are special places for our communities. So special, we call these cultural centers our safe spaces at Penn.
We hope you enjoy and relate to these stories.
Go Quakers!
Earlier this year, my father passed away when I was on vacation from school, and I really didn't know if I wanted to come back to Penn. I mean, the culture of Penn is like really hectic, really stressful. Everyone's stressed 24/7. So I came back and I spoke to people at La Casa Latina, and they were really supportive. And I found my home again, just like I had freshman year. I felt safer and more connected to the people at Casa Latina. So that's like my counseling. I vent to them. My therapy is just hanging out with them, listening to music, and just being in a place where I feel like home, where I feel like I'm back home in Providence with my family. My safe space at Penn is La Casa Latina.
Okay, I feel for this poor girl. I mean, a death in the family, and you're away from home, so you're in a strange place, and you need comfort, and you're questioning, can I make it in this strange place with a competitive and hectic atmosphere? Well, welcome to the real world, girl, because that's how it's going to be when you get into the workforce. And again, I feel for you, but why do you feel the need to feel back at home? Isn't the whole purpose of going to school and going away from home being away from fucking home? I don't know how to say this without sounding like such a fucking asshole, but I just don't know how else to go about it. Again, like, I feel for her and I understand her need to feel comfortable, and you do need therapy, but isn't that what you make friends for? Isn't there someone other than your segregated little group that you could talk to? And if not, you need to find another way.
I met most of my friends through the LGBT Center, a place where I could just go to study or hang out or meet with friends, play video games, do homework. I didn't have to explain myself every time I walked in, and as a gay student on campus, I was able to have a connection to the other people in which they understood where I was coming from and I understood where they were coming from. There was no questioning of my identity, and everything that I said was understood and accepted. My safe space at Penn is the LGBT Center.
Here I really don't have too much to say, because of all the groups, I really feel like this is probably still the most marginalized, even though they've made such huge strides with the whole, I don't know what you call it, sexual identity type thing. Really is still a battle, and I don't agree that you should encase yourself in this cocoon of, again, the echo chamber and just hearing what you want to hear from everybody you want to hear. Also, you shouldn't be taking abuse, and I will say that for every one of these little segregated communities. You really shouldn't be taking abuse. I just don't have too much to say about this one. Of all, again, this is the community that maybe does need more of a safe space to hang out at times.
I feel so connected when I go to Maku. I don't even really have all of the words that I would like to have to explain it. I sometimes go to sleep or wake up with a story or something that I want to share, something that I need help with, and immediately I'm like, okay, well, what time tomorrow can I go to Maku? The great thing about Maku is I can pretty much talk to any of the staff about any of the questions or concerns that I have, and they'll direct me in the right place. I really feel like the people who work there and even the other students who congregate there, they really want you in that space with them. My safe space at Penn is Maku.
All we ask for is a formal commitment in front of our college, all of these students, to a temporary and permanent space. And a temporary space is not a pop-up space, a lounge that you can reserve, a lounge that senior students of color reserved through the proper avenues and was kicked out so white students could throw a party. That is not enough.
As an international student, not barely as an Asian American, sorry, I can't just yell. I came to this country 5 years ago when I was 15, alone, to a boarding school in Pennsylvania. And what I heard out is, if you don't speak English, go home. If you don't speak English good enough, go home. I don't date Asians, and I'd like to have sex with a girl from all the continents. That's why I want to date you. And while I was walking down the street from my high school to Walgreens, I was walking with 3 of my friends from both China and Taiwan. And suddenly, when we were walking, the green light was on, and when we were crossing the crosswalk, there is a car just rushed through us, driven by an African American, shouting that go back to your home, like go back from where you are from, something like that. I don't remember exactly. And then a white lady just parked right by us and say, "Are you okay? Are you hurt of anything?" We're not hurt. It's just shocked and scared of our safety. And this white lady kindly asked, can I call the police? Can I do anything for you? We were like, it's okay. Thank you very much for your care. The point I'm making here is that we should not distinguish people by their race or gender or anything. Black people can be racist. White people, sorry. Oh no. I will make it. I will drag this out. Let her talk. Sorry. look people individually. There are people, sorry, maybe I don't articulate myself good enough. There are good people and there are people who are not that embracing to other cultures, who may not live up to standards of proper behaviors. But we have to look through hearts. We have to look into this person and see what she or he really is. Look from the heart, the action, not the race.
Okay. I want to bring it back to what Jincy said, and that was driving back the attention to the person.
I hope you took a good look at that clip for several reasons. It was actually a very diverse group. But what's going to happen is they're going to get their each individual safe spaces. They're going to segregate. They're going to formulate ideas that conflict against each other and never come to a head and discuss these ideas and debate the ideas and formulate or see which ideas float to the top of the intellectual free market. Like, that's just inherently a problem. And what happened? What happened when one of the even smallest Asian American, she's not even American, well, yeah, Asian American, she says she was. What happens when she crossed their narrative? They silenced her and they kicked her out. Why? Because she didn't meet their idea of what needed to be said. And even though she actually had the best fucking idea out of all of them, why are you making this about race? Why are you trying to segregate yourselves? You need to judge each other on the merits of your ideas and not your skin colors. That's one of the biggest problems with these goddamn safe spaces.
Where there are now two sides, black and white, battling over whether or not people should have a safe space or whether or not Woodrow Wilson's name should be removed from the school. What do you got?
That's right, Bill. So last week, Rohan brought you the story about some student-led protests as well as a sit-in at Princeton University held by the group called the Black Justice League. Just as a reminder, the Black Justice League is calling into question the usage of alum and former President Woodrow Wilson's name around campus. The group is demanding that the university publicly acknowledge the racist legacy of Woodrow Wilson and is asking them to rename the public policy school as well as a residential college.
My whole problem with this is the lack of knowledge of how the U.S. government works. Back then, it was a little more balanced as far as the president was more of a figurehead than an actual person with power. He couldn't do anything without Congress and the senators making it so. Actually, back then, it was a systemic problem. And you're trying to put the blame on this one man? And rather than acknowledging the good that he did, you want to blame him for all the racism that happened in this one period of time. Or not one period of time, but during his period of time. You're trying to place all the blame on the shoulders of one man, which is fucking bullshit.
Well, now there is another coalition speaking out against that, and they are calling themselves the Princeton Open Campus Coalition, arguing against the protests and demands of those students.
There was a very toxic environment on campus where students were afraid to voice their concerns about some of the demands for fear of being called racist, and we wanted to keep campus debate and dialogue open.
This is what I'm talking about. I'm a minority afraid of being called racist because of your fucking safe spaces. But she had the fucking balls to stand up and make a stand without a fucking safe space.
So I understand they were really focused on three things. One, that they were purposefully being respectful of the president of the college, saying, we're not going to do a sit-in. We'll come at your invitation and we'll leave when you ask us to leave, in a direct contrast with the black student group that said, they did a 32-hour sit-in, and they are fighting against this idea that you could have a safe space to not have your ideas challenged.
For the most part, just to quote their own letter, it says they just want to express their convictions without fear of being subjected to intimidation or abuse.
We've gotten a lot of messages from people telling us that they're glad that we're doing this because it is very important to have a university where students feel comfortable voicing their opinions about controversial issues and saying things that maybe not everyone would be happy with or agree with.
I mean, what do you guys think? I think it's about time somebody stood up and said that a college campus is a place to have your ideas challenged. That's the whole point.
I couldn't agree with you more. The first thing that crossed my mind is that the point of higher education is to learn about different ideas, and embrace new ideas and debate those ideas. But at the same time, I do think it is also important to foster the idea of a safe space in which to do that.
The truth is, yes, this country was founded with slavery. The fact that there are multi-races on campus right now is a victory in itself.
If they remove Woodrow Wilson, wouldn't you also have to consider removing George Washington from our money?
Just to make it clear too, and it's not even on campus black versus white, one of the representatives of the coalition is a female Hispanic, and she said it's tough being a female Hispanic and having her viewpoints. And she said that also the group is, both genders are in it. It's, a lot of different races. It's not, all white heterosexual male like they're trying to make it out to be.
All right, thanks.
Once I got to Penn, I heard about Patch, and I was thinking to myself, do I actually belong there, right? Because it's Penn Asian American students, and I am an international student, but not Asian American strictly speaking. Patch has played a very important role in helping me get to know people, get to know myself, and also to be part of a community that does great and amazing things and have great and amazing people. And don't be afraid to reach out, because people are willing and happy and looking forward to connect with you, or even connect you with other resources when you need them. My safe space at Penn is Patch.
So do I need to remind you of what happened at the Claremont McKenna College in California, where that poor Asian girl was swept aside from a safe space because she didn't agree with the minorities in that safe space, when she was the actual minority in that safe space? No, I'm sure I don't need to remind you.
So the first time I saw the Women's Center on Locust, I never thought it was something that I personally would take advantage of. It's something that I just used to pass by when I was going to class. I think it's important that women of color on this campus feel like they have a space and a resource that they can go to and just talk about whatever they want, things that maybe the rest of the student body might not be talking about. My safe space at Penn is the Women's Center.
So this one confuses me because I'm not sure if it's the Women's Center or the Center for Women of Color. Either way, I don't see a center for men, and growing up as a nerd and somewhat of an outcast, I guess it would have been kind of nice to have, my own little safe space that I could go to and talk. Oh wait, I did. I talked to my friends and we gathered and we played Magic and we played Pokemon and we did all that fucking bullshit together and discussed our problems, and we didn't need. Oh my god. But again, what the fuck?
I'm not full Native American. I'm Japanese. I have Latino blood. I have a lot of white blood, and then I've got this small part that's Native American as well. And it's kind of interesting that that natives at Penn is the identity I've latched onto, but it's really been a lot more than that. And I think that's hugely due to the GIC and how the GIC doesn't really have a ethnicity or cultural group that it necessarily identifies as. The Greenfield Intercultural Center is really important to me because it's kind of a place where I feel like the staff very much know me holistically, and I don't compartmentalize myself, and I don't have to be a specific type of person. I'm just me. My safe space at Penn is the GIC.
Well, this is the one group I can say is at least heading in the right direction. But I guess it also speaks a lot to Penn University that they couldn't actually find a Native American to put in this segment of the natives. Really. But again, I have to give this one little group at least the props that they're taking everybody. They don't care. They just want you all to get in the same space and discuss ideas, and I am not against that at all. I'm against the segregation, I guess, is my point of this whole fucking thing. So I'm going to leave you with this little clip from Obama, and really, harden the fuck up.
One thing I do want to point out is it's not just sometimes folks who are mad that colleges are too liberal that have a problem. Sometimes, there are folks on college campuses who are liberal and maybe even agree with me on a bunch of issues who sometimes aren't listening to the other side. And that's a problem too. I was just talking to a friend of mine about this. I've heard some college campuses where they don't want to have a guest speaker who, is too conservative. Or they don't want to read a book if it has language that is offensive to African Americans or somehow sends a demeaning signal towards women. And, I got to tell you, I don't agree with that either. I don't agree that when you become students at colleges, have to be coddled and protected from different points of view. I think that you should be able to, you should invite anybody who comes to speak to you and you disagree with, you should have an argument with them. But you shouldn't silence them by saying you can't come because, I'm too sensitive to hear what you have to say. That's not the way we learn either. So, what do you think, Artie? Amen. He said amen. All right. Okay.